of the Tool Shed podcast. What we're always trying to do on this podcast is to find people and services and support that can help the businesses in the construction industry. Today, I'm going to be talking to Marisa Punshon, and one of my favourite topics, money and managing money and finances and all of that sort of stuff. And reading about Marisa, she helps business owners get clarity, confidence and control over their finances, and who doesn't need that? I mean, there hasn't been a business that has gone out of business because they made too much money. It's always the opposite. And we find that there's probably very, very common errors that cause small businesses to experience financial pain. Most of them can be overcome or avoided, and hopefully that we're going to get some secrets and some ideas as to what we can do to be able to get more control over the financial situation in our business. So love to welcome Marisa to the podcast. Thank you so much for chatting with us. As I said, one of my most favourite topics. Can you just tell us how you got involved in this? Where did your passion and enthusiasm come to help small business owners with this side of their business?
Oh, well, Mick, it's a really interesting journey, because when I was at school, I was actually very involved in humanities, and then I went to university and I majored in Indian history, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I never ever thought that I would be involved in finance, but I felt, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I wanted to be an Indian history tutor. So I just fell into it. I really fell into it. I was particularly when I'd had children and I was just looking for work that was not anything corporate or involving long hours. So I fell into bookkeeping. I did that for a number of years. Then Xero came along, and I realised that bookkeeping's not all about just data entry. It's about actually you could automate things a lot more. So I began to I specialised in becoming a Xero consultant and setting up businesses in Xero. And from then, I went and did accounting at night. I did a life coaching course over in the States, and I realised that I could help people more, particularly business owners, if I was to help them understand their numbers and get some clarity around, why they're in business and what their goals are for the future, and then to engineer their business finances to help them achieve those goals. And of course, having the life coaching qualifications as well, I was able to then delve into money mindset, because as you've got your technical skills, and then you also have to have your mindset that matches those skills. Otherwise, you do things like self-sabotage and the whole series of things that you can do as you up your game. So
I just find this fascinating and super important, and you've just said a bunch of things that have made a whole bunch of questions go in my brain that I want to ask you. But one of the first things you mentioned was, what's the purpose? Like, what is the purpose of your business? Is a fantastic question to ask, because and I also have realised that you're a profit first professional as well. And I'm an absolute raving lunatic fan of Profit First, and a good friend of Mike McAllowitz, and he's just a wonderful guy. And all of his stuff is just so incredibly supportive and helpful. And Profit First, really, it's more of a mental and emotional management system than a financial management system. And that question you just asked there about when you're working with a business owner, what's the purpose of this? Because I expect you would find also that people tend to fall in. You used the word, you fell into what you're doing, and I get a real sense that you're passionate about it. But lots of small business owners fall into their small business. They're not necessarily passionate about it, and it ends up just being a job with a lot more sacrifice and risk than working for somebody else, and probably not the same financial reward. So you need to know why you're doing it. So how do you what's the conversation that you have with the people that you work with to help them identify the purpose of taking on all of this risk and sacrifice of running their own business?
Well, we take a step back because from the business owners I've worked with, they're always very clear about why they started their business in the first place.
Cool.
In fact, they're so clear about it that it's just it's almost painful, because they have that clarity that they wanted either financial independence, to work for themselves, to have a work-life balance, and then unfortunately that the exact opposite has happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's about recalibrating. I have a lot of activities I go through with them where they identify their values and what they really want in life. So, some people might want financial gain. Other people may want more time for themselves or for their family. Other people may want to build a business that's a legacy that they can pass down. So it's all very different. And once they can actually pivot back and see why they started their business in the first place, and then use that as an anchor, then we can move forward and put a plan in place to help them actually achieve that, as opposed to them just walking blindly down the path, hoping and praying that things will work out.
Yeah, plan, absolutely essential. I find that there's often common errors, common mistakes that most small business owners or business owners make. What are some of the ones that you fall across mostly with the people that you work with, and potentially what are some solutions to overcome them? Because most of them are overcomeable, and in fact I would suggest that most of them are of their own doing. They're not doing certain things, measuring certain things, thinking certain ways. It causes the problem, which is really cool, because if you're causing the problem, you can fix it. But what are the common ones that you find?
The most common one I find is them chasing the dollar. So they think that if we make more money, we're going to have more money. Yet they don't realize that sometimes making more money costs you more money.
Yeah.
So it's understanding how much it costs you to make a sale. And then from that point onwards, ensuring you've got enough gross profit, so you've got enough left over to then cover all your operating expenses. And growing, not if you grow fast, you've got it's a bit like a car with fuel. If you put fuel in the car and you're stopping and starting, you're going fast, you're going slow, you go through more fuel. Whereas if you just cruising down the highway, you use less fuel. And that's the way, if you run your business that way, both through planning and strategy, through strategic growth, as opposed to jolting growth and reacting growth. So that's the one thing. Another thing is actually using their business as their own personal bank account. So just sucking money out.
Yeah.
So cool, we've got some money, suck it out, and then you realise that you've got your BAS and your super and wages and in the construction industry you've got all these materials like $50,000 worth of materials that you've got to pay for. So that's another thing. It's actually that forward, that planning of, okay, I'm going to give myself X amount of money as a wage. Now, the profit first, if we go into that later, it does change things a little bit. However, it's all about you giving yourself something, so you're not sucking money out of the business all the time, and planning and looking forward and seeing, how strategically managing your business rather than doing it just, on a whim. Financial education is another thing that once business owners actually get it, it's just life changing.
Yeah. How
so
that education thing? It's how do you get your clients to open up to that financial education? I don't know. I just find that the majority. It seems to happen for both the marketing of a business and the financial management of the business, that they just want somebody else to take care of it, because
Mm.
It could be something to do with not really understanding profit and loss and balance sheets and things like that. I know that for me, I understood them, but it certainly didn't influence me to change my dumb decisions. Like, I was making a lot of dumb decisions financially, and for many, many years, the figures were there on the profit and loss. But the instant that we shifted over and I used the instant assessment in Profit First as my dashboard, it affected me so powerfully emotionally. My decisions financially tended to be the right ones. And I'd been stuffing it up badly for almost 20 years using a good accountant who was my friend and genuinely wanted to help, but it was being reported. My dashboard was my profit and loss. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, we got into Profit First, and the first 90 days were probably some of the most painful, some of the most painful times. But since then, you just got this sense of confidence, and you want to make the right decisions. So, how do you encourage your people to start to educate themselves and learn how to make the right decisions financially?
Okay. Well, Mick, interestingly, they've already just made that decision before they work with me.
Yeah.
They realise that when they work with me, that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
So it's I don't have to do a lot of convincing.
Excellent.
But I do say to business owners, particularly if they're directors of their company, that it is as a director of your company, you have to know your numbers. You have to be able to make accurate financial decisions for your business, because you are liable as a director. You can't just put your head in the sand. You can't rely on your bookkeeper or your accountant to do it all for you. You just can't do it. That's the only way. The businesses that succeed are where the business owner is behind the wheel and in control, not the business owner that just says, "Oh, look, I'll take care of all the sales and my bookkeeper and accountant take care of everything else."
Yeah.
You've got to be over it. You have to be over it. So it's understanding the basics as well. So your profit and loss shows you one. It's like looking through windows and just looking through one window and looking at one view. That's what you'll see when you look at your profit and loss. You'll see how many sales you've made, how much it will cost you to make those sales, and how much it costs you to open up your doors. But then you've also got your balance sheet. Now, you can look like you're making a lot of profit, but it could all be, and profit isn't cash, remember that too. But you could be looking at your bank account and saying, "Oh, well, I don't have any money in the bank. Where is it? It looks like I'm making lots of sales." So then you look at your balance sheet and you can see where you may be taking money out of your business for things like, loans or leases, or, you could be drawing out of your own money for your own accounts. And then you got your cash flow as well. So it's really the three reports that we look at. And and that, I think it's not as overwhelming if you just bring it down to the basics. And that's what a lot of people don't get. They get people that accountants that might talk over them and use analogies they don't understand, and then they feel stupid and they don't want to ask questions, and then they're disempowered. So it's about saying, "Look, I don't know what I don't know," and just building it from there. And it's quite empowering once you understand your numbers.
Yeah. I'd like you to elaborate on that too. Like, empowerment is a very, very powerful emotion, and I just find that financial distress is kind of the worst distress that you can experience, because it seems to amplify the other pressures that you're experiencing. So you've got, you might have some relationship issues going on, you might have some health issues going on, all sorts of other things happening in other parts of your life. And if you've got financial distress too, it seems to amplify those problems. And I just, with somebody like yourself in their corner, to be able to make them feel empowered and understand their numbers and understand their situations, I can only imagine that it reduces that distress, which also helps in every other area of life. So, can you speak about that, how important it is to to be able to understand what's going on so you can feel good?
Oh, I think you've nailed it there, Mick. Financial stress causes, apart from health issues,
Mm.
relationship breakdowns, family
Yeah.
breakdowns. It's huge, and I know particularly in the building industry, it's rife because
Mm.
the building and I know being a tradie wife myself, I for a long time I know how that works. Things are good, bang, 2 days later there's no work, so it causes extreme stress, and if you can avoid that, then or not even there's always going to be a bit of stress, and sometimes stress isn't bad,
Mm.
but it's the bad stress you don't want. And that's where profit first is perfect, because you're actually you're turning the accounting equation around, you're putting profit first, and what maybe that profit that you put aside can be used to pay down debt, or it can be used to pay yourself more money. But the point is, it's taking away that stress of working really hard and then having nothing to show for it at the end.
Mm. One of the things I said in the introduction is that you help people get clarity, confidence, and control. Can you tell me what are the things that you suggest to get back that control? Because, while we're on the subject of good and bad stress, I mean, the words that we tend to use in Builders Business Black Belt is stress and distress. And we actually did a whole session on this just a little while ago. Stress is essential. Like, the stress is what you put on your muscles when you're lifting weights, or, you carrying your shopping, whatever. You've got to do that sort of stuff so you can grow and maintain agility and strength and all of that sort of stuff. But distress is that feeling of being out of control. And stress is good, distress not good. What are some of the suggestions that you make to help your clients get that feeling of control back again? Because that in and of itself, I think, can eliminate the majority of distress. And then, you put some challenges in front of yourself for the stress part.
If I could just say something about the stress and distress, I actually call it discomfort.
Yeah.
Because there always has to be, for growth, there always has to be a level of force and discomfort.
Yeah.
So, if a seed to, germinate, there has to be pressure for it to open and then grow. So growth always involves some sort of pressure or discomfort in order for it to happen. So that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. It's if it's done in increments, and if it's done, and you're controlling it and you understand, right, it's going to be a little bit tough for this moment or this period of time, yet you've put planning in place to manage it. And that's what it comes down to. It's about being aware of the future, being aware of the possibilities, and knowing that there might be a little bit of discomfort or stress. However, you can minimize it by planning.
Yeah. You mentioned something there, it takes that pressure, and that there's going to be a certain level of discomfort, which I love that whole concept. It's not comfortable when you got all of this weight on your chest and you're trying to lift it off, but it's necessary. The other part of that is that you need time for the muscle to repair. And that's what I really love about the profit first is the reward part of it, and it's kind of like how you train a dolphin or a dog or whatever with the reward sort of thing. How important in your mind, and how do you encourage your people to reward themselves? Because if you're putting yourself under pressure to grow, that's fine, but like I think the word that you said, you can't sustain it. Like it's for a specific period of time. Then there needs to be a reward for that effort. What are some of the things that you encourage your people to do to reward themselves for that effort?
It's really interesting you say that, Mick, because I my make, keep, and enjoy more money blueprint has three elements to it. The first one is make, the next element is keep, and the last element is enjoy.
Yeah.
And part of that is goals, gains, and getaways. And so I actually work with my clients to plan getaways.
Yeah.
And that could be a weekend away. It could be a day off. It could be a holiday somewhere. It could be something even larger, like a trip overseas for a few weeks. But incorporating it can't all be making more money and budgeting and work. You need to also incorporate part of the plan, your getaways, and that's how we do it.
Do you find that you get any resistance to it? I know it's a really strange question, but I just find that there are people who they'll put the work in and then they feel really uncomfortable, like with their profit first and getting a distribution and going on that getaway, even if it's a small amount of money and they're taking their partner out for dinner as their profit first reward. Sometimes there's this resistance, like we've been conditioned to do smart things or the right thing with our money, and not understanding that we're mammals as well, and we run away from pain and towards pleasure, and we can change our behavior and our decisions by using that pain and pleasure thing effectively, and we'll go through the pain, but then when it's pleasure time, we'll often resist. How do you deal with that?
But if I think that the guilt is when the business owner knows they don't have the money all the time to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas through Profit First and through strategic planning and through the blueprint, we actually engineer things, and so you have got the money and the time to do that.
Yeah. So it's comfortable.
It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's like with your personal finances, putting money aside into, and I know I do this, with mine, a splurge account.
Yep.
And you know what? You got money in there. You can go out, and you can either go out to dinner or you can save it and buy whatever you want to buy. And it doesn't matter what you buy. You got the money for it, and it's not it's not on credit card. You're not taking it out of anywhere else, so you don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's about the balance. It's finding that balance and planning for that balance.
So you mentioned earlier on that, we could talk about Profit First. How did you find it, and what were your first impressions when you became aware of it? Did it, what was your experience?
Okay. It had been, I'd read the book a while ago, and I'd also read Surge and the Toilet Paper Entrepreneur as well by the same author, by Mike.
Yeah.
So I knew about it. I'd always positioned myself as a profit and cash flow expert. So I was doing it anyway. I was walking the talk, and I figured I probably should look into it a little bit more, which I did, and I thought, no, this is good. I like this. Because I've never been one of these people that I've always wanted to look at how things could be done differently. And I think that's why I got into what I'm doing now with using the accounting and the life coaching and just adding more and more and more onto that. Looking at different ways of approaching things. And I thought Profit First is great because quite often business owners, it's true, it's the old accounting equation that your sales take away your expenses and then you're left with your profit. And quite often, the profit is either not there or it's there, but it's not reflected in your bank account. So by looking at the Profit First, it turns that all around. It's, your sales revenue or sales/revenue, take away your profit, and then you've got your expenses, and you have to live off, you've got to work within your expenses. Otherwise, if you're spending more than you're making, then even in your personal life, you're not going to get anywhere. So it just works. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. Also, it's great to be in a community of like-minded people that just get it as well, and that are very passionate about helping empower business owners and helping people actually achieve their goals. Because for me, what drives me is living life on my terms and doing what I love doing. So I like to be able to help my clients do the same. And a lot of profit first professionals are exactly the same as that.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't go past a good community of like-minded people.
Absolutely.
You mentioned one of Mike's book, the Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
Yes.
I think the first one that I read was the Pumpkin Plan.
Oh yes, the Pumpkin Plan. That's right. Yes, yeah. That was a great
very
book too.
Cool. All of the parallels between a successful small business and how to grow a big pumpkin.
Yes, and just
bizarre.
and focusing on something rather than focusing on everything, but just nurturing and growing that one thing and being really good at that one particular thing. And and it's interesting you say that, Mick, because that's probably where profit first a decision as well for me was that I wanted to concentrate on profit and cash flow. And so by moving into profit first community, I'm just enhancing my skills in that area. A bit like, pulling out all the weeds and all the other pumpkins that haven't done so well, and then nourishing this one big pumpkin.
Yeah. It's a bizarre. I just like or love listening. I tended to get the audio books because Mike's just a funny dude. I remember going out to dinner with him in Melbourne when he was here a little while ago. I don't think we spoke about business all night. We spoke about guitars and AC/DC, I think, most of the night.
Really?
He's
That's
just
funny.
mad. But we just laughed the whole time, and I love listening to the extra bits you get in the audio book. But you mentioned like with profit first and living within your means and being able to run your business from your expense account. And I love the whole concept of continuously looking at your profit targets to increase the percentage of net profit and reduce the percentage of your real revenue that you're using for your operating expenses. And so you are, I suppose, effectively reducing the resources you've got to run your business on purpose. And that plays into the whole concept of the toilet paper entrepreneur. If you haven't read that book, folks, or listen, I would say listen to it. I like the audio version again because it starts off with this whole thing of Mike being in a public toilet with no toilet paper. So I'll just let your imagination go there. But it's very, very funny. But the essence of it is when our back's against the wall, that's kind of sometimes when we do our best work, we have to figure out how to do things. And if you're reducing the amount of money you've got to run your business with, you've got to find better ways and refine your procedures and your efficiencies and all of that sort of stuff. So I just love that. How do you find when you're talking to people initially about profit first? Do they get excited about it? Do they get worried about it? What are some of the responses you get when you start to roll out this concept to your clients?
Well, initially it seems like hard work, and it also because it's an attitude change.
Yes.
So it's not just and it's actually against against what natural human behaviour to put profit first. So normally, and which is good because you generally concentrate on what comes first. So people concentrate on the revenue, whereas if you concentrate on your profit as well, then you're going to you're going to put importance on that. But look at just generally they'll say, "Oh, do I have to move everything into different bank accounts?" And but yes, you do.
Yes,
you do.
Answer is yes.
Yes, trust the process. Trust the process. So, and then when they see results, and then when they can see that it is it's a commitment. And it's like with anything, if you decide on something and you commit to it, then you see results. But if it's too hard, then it's the old saying: if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice of changing your ways and changing the results, or of just going back to doing what you've always done, and then you get what you've always got.
Yeah. I'll find and be interested in what your experience is too. But quite often the first win is having the money in the tax account just to pay the BAS for the first time ever. Like it seems
exactly.
crazy that you gather all of this money, and there's a fair chunk of it that's not yours, but you use it as if it's yours, and then you're surprised every 90 days. It's not as if it doesn't happen regularly. You get a BAS thing every 90 days, and you go, "Oh, where do we find the money for that?" Well, we've already spent it. And when you've got the money for it, that seems to be the first major win. Do you find that? What other responses do you find that people get excited about?
Yes, that, and also superannuation, having money to pay staff super, because that's a big one. And I know the ATO are really coming down hard on businesses now. So just ensuring you've got money aside for those things, it lets you sleep at night. What else? It's actually going through the operating expenses and getting rid of what you don't need has been quite exciting for a lot of people I've worked with, because they've realised that they've got all these subscriptions that they've subscribed to, and they could be, and a lot of them are in US dollars these days, so you're almost doubling it. So going through, and they could be, you could be saving a couple of $100 a month, if not more, by just reducing those subscriptions. Also looking at software, having software, you've got maybe 5 or 6 software systems, but you can find one that does all of them, of those features. So it's reducing the income they get excited, the expenses they get excited over. And but it's really seeing that it's having someone to help them, and so they're not, it doesn't all fall on their shoulders. And you mentioned previously about stress, and it's good because you need it, but if you go to the gym and then you do your weights, you need to have time to let your muscles recover. And when you said that, I immediately thought, yes, you go to the gym, but you need to have someone that shows you how to use the equipment properly. Otherwise, otherwise
you see those funny
yourself.
Facebook photos of people using gym equipment completely the wrong way.
Exactly. So it's like that with finances. It's having the right people around you to show you a different way of doing things, and to support you and to hold your hand and to help you as you transition and as you achieve your goals. So that would be probably one of the best reactions I get. It's just, I'm not doing it alone.
Yep. So true. And I want to ask you about your prospect journey to your client in just a sec, but I want to emphasize what you just said there about the value of having a coach. In all sorts of areas, like if you're going to the gym, it's good to have someone to show you how to do it properly. If you're going to put the energy in, you might as well get the best result and have someone who knows what they're doing to guide you. I have a podcast coach, to help me with these podcasts. I've been podcasting for years and years and years. I still have a podcast coach. I have a wealth coach, business coach. I'm a business coach and have a business coach who coaches business coaches. What areas do you want to be successful in? Find somebody that has that knowledge and you can stand on their shoulders. So to that end, can you tell us how people get in contact with you? What's the process that you take them through to find out whether they're the right fit for you and jump on to have you in their corner?
Okay. Well, the first thing would be that they can get on my website and contact me that way, or through my email. Which, will you put that down the bottom?
It's going to be in the description. We'll have links all over the place.
Yeah, beautiful, great. And I start off having a discussion with people, because of course, not everyone's the right fit for everyone.
Yep.
So we have a discussion, and then I see if I can help them, because sometimes I may not be able to help someone because it might be something they need in a different area. But then I've got a fairly big network, so then I've got someone that I can pass them on to. So it's not always me. But look, quite often we have a conversation, we see if we're the right fit, and then we start on our journey together. So but I really uncover and find out exactly what people need, because I don't, even though I've got my blueprint, I will not say that, right, you've got to do my blueprint and then
Yeah.
pop them in there and then they're all, everyone goes through the same thing. We do have a structure, and the structure is based on my blueprint, but it's also ensuring that my clients get what they need.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to do some, a bit of uncovering, a bit of, goal setting and discovery.
Yeah. And I suspect like the connection is really important too. Like there's probably plenty of people around that have incredible systems and programs and knowledge and experience and all of that sort of stuff, and you just don't get on with them. So being able to trust somebody, have a connection with somebody, and not have pressure put on you, but have accountability also. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the importance of accountability. I mean, I choose to have a podcast coach, so I have accountability, and all of those other coaches as well. So, how important is that with what you do? Not necessarily pressure, but accountability to make sure stuff gets done.
Well, I think that's why they work with me, because they need to be accountable to somebody. So, and I just say it up front that when we work together, we'll be working together. Particularly if it's one-on-one, we will work together for X amount of time during the week, and then you're expected to do X amount of work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, therefore, the hour we have together we get through a lot, and it's productive.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it's cool.
And also having people that that are willing to just be very vulnerable and say, look, I've stuffed up, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I've made a mistake here, or I don't understand, so I need help.
Yeah, perfect. So I love everything that you've said. It's like we're sort of singing off the same page of the hymn book. We understand that, you've got to have somebody in your corner. There are common challenges, and being able to have somebody support you and understand those common challenges, but also have a process to help you navigate your way out and get what you want. By firstly understanding what you want is super, super powerful. So just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge on this version of the podcast, on this episode of the Toolshed podcast. It's been absolutely wonderful, folks. There will be links in the description for Marisa's website, Marisa's email, anything else that we can find that is going to be useful for you. So you'll just be able to click on those and have a conversation with Marisa. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, Mick, thank you so much for having me.
It's
been great chatting to you.
Yeah, excellent. So that's it for this episode of the Toolshed podcast. Jump on Marisa's website and organise to have a conversation with her if that has inspired you, if we've touched on anything that makes sense to you and you want somebody to support you and guide you in the future with the financial thing. As we said, through the conversation, that financial distress is the worst distress because it impacts the intensity of every other problem. And if we can get that under control, a lot of the other problems just disappear. And having somebody like Marisa in your corner cannot be a bad thing. And it's a great thing to do, is to have somebody with that experience to help you get what you want. So we'll be back again with another episode of the Toolshed real soon. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. This has been the Toolshed podcast. Bye for now.